Yeah, that's good.
It's Matthew Brown here with Creative Photography. We're going to start our next episode here of the open booth, and we have our new guest, so come on in.
What's up, Matt? Thank you for having me.
So this is Michael, and Michael, we're going to just jump right in.
All right.
So my first question for you, and I ask almost everybody that I meet that gets in the open booth, is how do we meet?
Through 212. I'm pretty sure it was actually the first corporate training. First corporate training, I think, is where I met you.
Right.
I think we're the only two creatives in the room at that day, other than maybe like one or two.
Where was that?
It was at the golf course. I can't
Like
remember.
Independence or something?
Yeah,
maybe like
Independence.
that?
Yeah. It's
There
at
you go.
Independence.
There you go.
And
So we had that in common.
yeah, we had this photography, videography, creative work in common.
Well,
So
that dives right into the second question, which
Yeah.
is, tell me a little bit about like your company. You have a company
yes,
that does video, right?
creative video agency, Dominion Vistas. We do real estate and we do creative video work for real estate and mortgage loan officers. We help them build their personal brands online through video, helping them navigate the complexities of the different social media platforms, but also helping them get strategic on how they plan to market themselves, but also keep it really authentic and not, just looking like everyone else. And that looks different for everyone because we're all different people.
Right.
Want to make sure that they show up as themselves and not as like somebody that they love online. So
Well, part of the open booth is, if you haven't watched have you watched any of my previous episodes?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have a little bit of like, I kind of will ask questions that, I try to get people to be as open as possible about
Sure,
the questions and things like that.
I haven't seen too
Always-
many of them, but I've only seen the
I always
one.
give people the right to refuse to.
Oh, sure.
So I don't think we're going to delve into anything too much, but you never know.
Okay.
So one of the things that kind of like interesting about the fact that we're both creatives kind of thing is, I'm going to flash back like way back for you.
Sure. I'm 40, so
Where-
it couldn't be that.
Where do you think you kind of started to feel like you wanted to do something creative?
Oh, wanted to do something creative.
How far back? Like middle school, elementary school, high school?
Honestly, I remember as a very young kid, and it wasn't necessarily like creative, right? I was already creative. I think that just the era of when I grew up, like 90s, early 2000s. As a young kid, there wasn't a whole lot of like video games. I mean, there were video games. I just didn't. Our family wasn't, the type of family that was like, my dad was going to go out and buy me a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo or whichever. All my other friends had that stuff, so I had things like Legos, and especially the Lego was a huge part of my life because I used to get really creative with it. Growing up, I spent the first 5 years of my life in Japan, and so I think a lot of the toys that I had were, Japanese toys that were like Transformers and other different forms of like robotics. So I used to take Legos and build some of like the first, in what in my opinion would have been like first robotic sort of Lego sets. And, it was just from all the other collections of Legos that I used to get from friends. I used to trade Legos to get certain parts, to make the arms. And I would make a lot of, this might date me, but there's a video game called Mech Warrior. And the Mech Warriors had like legs that were backwards, like more like an ostrich. And so I would make a lot of the cockpits, have arms with guns, and then the legs would be backwards, multi-legged robots, things that like you could see in Lego today that they just didn't, it wasn't even being thought of back then.
Right.
And I got a lot of that influence from like, I guess, Japanese animation and robotic, like a lot of their art is like robots and technology.
So as long as we're back there,
Yeah.
Tell me about like what brought you. So were you born in the United States and then you grew up in Japan?
Yeah. So I was actually born in, my father's in the Air Force. He's put 20 years in the Air Force and traveled around the world. He met my mother in Okinawa, Japan. Um,
I've been there.
yes. So I was born in Merced, California.
Okay.
And then we went, I do believe, directly from there back to Okinawa and spent a little bit of time there, some time on the island of Guam, where my mother's from. And then my dad picked his final duty at Tinker Air Force Base. So the remainder of my life was mostly from about 5 till left 22. I left Oklahoma City at 22. So I lived in Oklahoma City from 5 to 22.
I've got 2 kids in the military in the Air Force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So one of them's in Italy and one of them just finishing up basic training. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I understand about the Air Force. Now, you didn't do the military, or did you?
I did. I was really against it most of my life because I don't know, young,
Growing up
stubborn,
a brat kind of thing?
Not necessarily a brat. It's just like, I think the idea of like leaving your friends, leaving your family, as a young person, you really don't think you need any of that, But I ended up working as an automotive mechanic for most of my years right after high school, and sort of capped out in that industry where I didn't think I was going to make a whole heck of a lot of money, and I wanted to make more money. So
Military is not the place to make more money.
no, but what it did is it gave me an opportunity to figure out like, well, what is it I want to do? I tried college, I was a night student while going to, like working full time as an automotive technician, which just doesn't work out. You're working a pretty hard and grueling job all week long, and sometimes on the weekends because you have to do weekend rotations. Not every technician works the same weekends. It's usually like every other or every third week you work a weekend. But I didn't like the lifestyle. I didn't really like the politics of the dealership. There's a lot of like
Quotas and things like that, maybe?
well, I mean, sure, quotas, or just people that were more money hungry than like wanting to help people. As a technician, you see a lot of like someone coming in at 15,000 miles and they're saying, hey, you need a tire rotation, an oil change, and an air filter, which you shouldn't need any of that until like maybe 30,000 miles. Well, not the oil change. The oil change is pretty maintenance, but air filter, tire rotation at 15,000 miles, maybe not. 30,000 miles.
That's kind of a little bit of the ethics of it.
Yeah, a lot of it was ethics.
Else, yeah.
Yes, I would see a lot of service writers come to me and say, "Hey, you need to do this job," and I'm like, I'm looking in the service history, and it's already been done. It was done last visit or whatever, and we already sold it. You're going to do it, and I didn't love that. Yeah, had a lot of arguments with management about practices of these people, and it didn't matter to them because they were just trying to increase the dollar amount. I felt I was just doing dishonest work.
Right.
So
when you were in Japan,
yeah,
like how much of that do you remember?
a very small amount. I think it's
What were
only
the ages? What were your ages that you were
I
there?
think we left when I was 5.
When you were 5?
Yeah, when I turned 5.
So the
And-
bulk of your remembrance of like youth,
Yeah.
where did you spend that? Like in California then?
Oh no, that would have been Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost all of my
So that's where you're like high school kind of thing?
Yeah, all my high school best friends still, for the most part, live there. I think one of them lives in San Antonio now, and yeah, a lot of my friends just stayed in Oklahoma. I can't.
Did you get a lot of like buddies when you were in the military that you keep up with now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm actually meeting up with 2 of my friends who I haven't seen in probably a decade to hang out. We all have kids now. Yeah, one's finally getting out of the service.
You did Air Force.
No, I was in the Navy.
Oh, the Navy. Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't follow in your father's footsteps?
No, well, I tried.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I tried, and this was sort of the tail end of when things were ramping down after 9/11.
Okay.
So they're getting a little bit more strict on who could come into the services, and so the Air Force was like, I don't think this is a fit for you.
Okay.
And the Navy was like, let me see your ASVAB scores, and they
Okay.
tried to get me into a nuclear program, and I said I don't want anything to do with submarines or nuclear technology.
Were you on a ship then, or?
No. Actually, interestingly enough, I went to school for aviation electronics, but ended up leaving my A school and going out into the military or into the Navy undesignated. So you don't get a job. You haven't selected one. And then so after that, I went to Cheatham Annex, which is here in Williamsburg, if you know where that's at, and spent Yorktown Naval Weapons Station.
Okay.
So a lot of people know that one. Cheatham Annex is, if you ever go down to Yorktown Beach, it's near there. But so I worked in logistics there with the Seabees for my 4-year service, and then got out. I'd only attended the military to get college funds. So I knew I wanted to go back to college. I just felt that I needed more discipline. So it's really why I joined the service. Get away from my family, get away from my friends, learn about myself.
Right.
And
were you disappointed? Was there part of you that was disappointed in not getting into the Air Force to follow along your father, or
no,
was that just like, your dad was like, okay, kind of,
no,
sometimes that can have a big effect, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
Depends on
I
the
guess
person.
because I didn't really have like any specific goals other than to get college, like funding for college.
Wow.
That it didn't really matter what branch, just as long as it wasn't a Marine Corps.
And then you got the funding for college, but did you finish college, you said?
Yeah. So
Okay,
I ended
you
up
did,
going
okay.
back for a degree in music recording and studio design.
Okay.
And so I did not do any of that. I ended up getting into the field of
You're using sound and audio now.
yes, right.
So,
But I did get into an industry. It's just a very difficult industry to break into as like an older, I was late 20s. I was 27 when I got out of the service, and a lot of those types of jobs you still need to be living with your parents, and you're not paid super well in the very beginning. Sometimes you're working studio work for free.
I have a son who just graduated from VCU, the School of Arts, in film.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, we're telling him, you need to find a job.
Yeah. He'll probably end up in marketing somewhere.
Yeah, it's he thinks he's going to go right to Hollywood or something like that, but
there's a lot of friends that I have that are making great movies, like, and doing a lot of short films and traveling.
That might be the ticket.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe I can get you in contact with some
We're
friends.
trying to support him and help him to
No,
do
love
those
that.
things,
Yeah.
but
I think that's
it might be a hard life at the beginning.
yes, of course. And I think that with most creative jobs, it's hard in the beginning, unless you get into a corporate creative position where you're like, I know a lot of young guys and girls that have signed up with CoStar here locally as editors that were doing stuff for the news and making just ridiculous money. Very rare situation for most video editors, in my opinion. But I think it was a great start for them. They'll probably get to pay off a lot of their college with it. And then when they're forced...
CoStar is a great employer in Richmond. I don't want to throw them under the bus.
No.
But I've heard, and of course, that unfortunately on the kind of creative side, they kind of go through these cycles where every few years it's kind of like they mix things up and people get let go. And it's like they have these great jobs that disappear after a few years. Whenever they want to reimagine what they're doing or something like that.
Right. That actually just happened to a handful of my friends now. They were with CoStar and Homes.com, who they were editing for, cut a major budget, and so a lot of the editors and teams
it's I'm a Richmonder, Like you're a Richmonder, and you want to support, the businesses coming here, but then at the same time you want to call them out when it's like I don't, maybe they're following whatever the market is, but it's not good when it seems like I've heard like over the years that like that kind of creative side just kind of gets churned a little bit more than usual.
And I feel like
it's,
that's a lot of the big agencies though, right?
Mm-hmm.
They grow to massive size, they get tons of clients, and then when the economy sort of hits a rough spot, they're like, sorry, we got to axe everybody that we possibly can who's making whoever's on the list. So
Now, when you were going through your job things, so it's the mechanic into the Air Force and then college, and then what was your first job kind of out of college that you did? Did you start right into your video?
No, in fact, I ended up working for a company called Encore Custom Audio Video, and we did smart homes and custom home theaters for residents in, like new homes in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
And then some were just like homes that were owned by people that had already been living in them, homeowners that wanted to renovate their entire basement into their dream home theater. And it was usually a full basement renovation, some costing, $250,000 or more. Yeah, it was an awesome experience because it took a lot of like what I learned in the military, doing carpentry and working with electric. So my time in the military is very different than I think a lot of like Navy guys, especially. And so I was with a construction battalion. We did a lot of construction work. So like framing, electrical work.
Basically learned some trades.
Yeah. So I learned a lot of like different trades. I got to operate a dump truck, backhoe, like I even, construction equipment that someone that's not designated to that particular, like either an equipment operator or, an electrician in the Seabees would have handled all that stuff. But I was lucky enough to say, hey, just volunteer for all this stuff and say, hey, can I do that? Can I be a part of this? And it got me the opportunities to learn a lot of different things. I deployed to Kuwait, and what I would have been doing was helping the other half of the logistics unit support the reserve and shipping stuff back from Kuwait to the United States. But instead, when we were all getting ready for leaving, I was helping everybody with their computer logins and getting everyone just prepared to go. And I would just like run around and be like, hey, you have a problem, like with logging in. Is your military card not working? Let me help you. Get your computer set up. And
so you weren't out there
no,
quenching the fires in the oil fields?
No. So I ended up getting the attention of the IT department that was headed out there. And he sat me down, he's like, hey, how much do you know about computers? And I said, well, I'm pretty self-taught, but I think I broke my dad's computer enough to be able to fix it in any way. Okay. And so he was like, let's just do a little, 20-minute interview. And I gave it my best. And he was like, how do you feel about, instead of going with all your other friends, still coming with us, but working in IT in an air-conditioned office? And I said, I think that sounds like a great idea. I don't want to go out and be in up to potentially 140 degree weather and in the desert, which we were there during the winter. And let me tell you, it does get very, very cold in Kuwait.
Nothing that holds the heat.
Yes, exactly. Like we were stationed at Kuwait Naval Base, and it snowed at least one time that I remember. Wow. Not anything significant, but it was just like all the things that I had imagined the desert of Kuwait would be like. It was not like that. So interesting.
Were you far enough away from all the kind of quote action stuff of the battle to ever feel any fear of like anything happening? Or
yes, yeah. I mean, it felt safe. It felt safe enough. You're in a country that you don't know. You know that you're very close to dangerous places. So like you always have your head on a swivel looking for potential danger. But I think that's just the nature of being in the military. And even whenever I was in Greece and you feel safe, you go out in town, you're going to police yourself. You're going to police the area. You're going to look to make sure that
Set
you know
rep.
you and
What's it called? Set rep?
yeah. You just don't want to be caught out anyway. First of all, you don't want anything. You don't want to start.
So you said you went into
international incident.
kind of went into the military to find your way, kind of like get your head set straight. So do you think that worked for you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. As far as discipline goes, and just learning about what I was physically and mentally capable of. I know the boot camp does like a really great job for a lot of people, but I think that was like a huge awakening for myself. Yeah, I was always been a pretty active person growing up. I like to spend time outdoors. Plus, I was wrenching on my own cars as a hobby before I ever became a mechanic.
Right.
And so I felt like I was a pretty tough kid. I was smart. I like to do stuff, but the challenges that the military puts you through are just different. You're away from number one. You're away from your whole support system, family, friends, anyone that that you can be like, hey, I need help, is gone. So
Wow.
your next best opportunity, or
That's why it's the brotherhood, right?
yeah. Your next best brother is your bunkmate or someone that you spent a lot of time with deployed. I met some great friends, people that I'll never forget. Even though I may even talk to some of these people, I still think about them often.
Well,
They just had powerful influence on my life, especially some of the senior management. I think really probably put me in the place that I am today because the confidence that they gave me. So it's interesting. I think that being in the military was probably the best thing that best step in progressing in my life that I've decided to do it.
so that's a good kind of segue for my next kind of question, which is a larger question.
Mm-hmm.
So people like individuals, and you hear kind of all over the place, oh, that was a life-changing event.
Right.
Like, if you look back at your life so far, you said you're 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would that be like going in the military, being like doing those things? Like, is there one event in that period? Or was there some other event that's happened over your 40 years that like, you're like, that's a life-changing event? Like after that, things just kind of went in a different direction.
I would say not necessarily going into the military is the life-changing event. I think it was the choice. Like me taking the action and signing up, and saying, I'm going to leave everything that I know to make something different for myself. Because I didn't feel that much was going to change if I stuck around the place that I was at. I wanted something different. I wanted something better for my life. And I probably needed some challenges to really understand what is it that I want for myself? Where do I want to go? And so, I think that going in and signing up and saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to step away from everything that I know and do this is probably like that I guess tipping points or whatever you want to call it. And
I had a friend of mine who sat in that same seat, and we were at a different location, my first open booth, and he joined the Army when he was 18, but didn't tell his parents.
oh
Like he went, like he turned 18, he went to the office, he did everything, and then he came home.
right
And he's like, hey, I've joined the Army.
yeah
They're not happy to begin with. But yeah, so it's
especially at
you
18,
told
that's like it's your baby.
So when that happened to you, it wasn't like that. It was like,
No, I was 21 when I signed up.
still at home.
Well, I was already living off I was living in a rent home that my father owned. So there was a period of time where I moved back in with my family and then went off to the service. But that was just more like,
So when
Dad, you should
you
probably
did
take care
that
of-"
situation, like what? So like your parents kind of knew that you were thinking about it. You talked with them, or you were an
Yeah.
adult at that point and you made the decision.
Well, so interestingly enough, my dad was a real estate agent for like 30 years. And our next door neighbor, who my dad sold the house to, was a recruiter for the Navy. So when I first went, I went to try to join the Air Force. And they were like, no. My dad was like, why don't you just go next door and talk to the Navy, like, your neighbor who's the Navy recruiter. And yeah, he just got everything lined up. I think that was just like, yes, I did talk to my parents. All that to say, yes, I did talk to my parents a lot.
Well, it's a
But yeah.
different story. And, there's nuances and like it or not,
Yeah,
your parents are your parents.
yeah,
There's some people who, they'll grow up and they don't ever talk to their parents, and some
Yeah.
people whose parents are still, a very integral part of their lives.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
some that weave back and forth between being integral and not being integral, and
Yeah,
yeah, so they are your parents are your parents, whether you chose them or not.
right. True.
Sometimes, like I have two adopted kids, so we chose them.
Right.
So
Oh, that's true.
yeah, so
Very different situation.
yeah. Now whether they choose to continue, like because they could be like, they could go off on their lives and just kind of not really be really super connected anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that is unique about the open booth is every time I have a new episode, it's in a new location.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of was talking with you and you suggested this location.
Yeah.
And so tell me where we are, what's the significance? Maybe there's a significance to you
Yeah.
about this location. Tell me about it.
So this is Pony Pasture. We're recording not too far from the parking lot, and I guess the significance is I live in this neighborhood, not too far, maybe half a mile, and so this is where I come and run, and bring my kids, and I can't say I spend a whole heck of a lot of time here, but it probably once a month, twice a month, maybe.
So just in case this goes international,
Yeah.
you just said Pony Pasture. Like, tell us more about like what this is, like
Oh,
what river this is, and like some more information.
So this is the James River.
Did you have to think about
I had to think about it there for a second. Yeah, this is the James River. Don't swim in it. Yeah, so it's the James River. This is a park that is on the south side of the river in what I think is probably one of the most unique neighborhoods in all of city of Richmond. It's got beautiful rolling hills, beautiful ranch style homes with basements, which you don't see very often anymore, and some very mixed in mid-century modern homes in the
I
area.
think there's actually a home designed by Frank Lloyd Wright around here, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. I think if you just head up just a little bit further south of the park
So
here.
we have famous architects who designed a house.
Famous architects have built homes here. It's a good little park. The weekend's always busy. People are brought their portable grills and just hanging out in the water, and it's a place that me and my daughters often come and have like picnics when.
Yeah, so people, if you don't know much about the James River, it does have one of the only Class 5 rapids
Yeah.
that go through a city
Yep.
in the United States,
Yeah,
and
it's dangerous.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've whitewater rafted on it with
Oh yeah.
with a company one time.
Yeah.
And it can be
Riverside.
It was one that was like, it's been like 10 years ago or something
It
like
used
that.
to probably be over here, just south of the river.
It used to be down like in that, like
The
down by
parking lot.
Rockets Landing.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, they had I don't think they're there anymore.
No, I think there's been
But
Riverside. I think is the only one that's left. And maybe one other company, but
it's got good fishing, excellent fishing
oh yeah.
for striped bass, and all kinds of, like, there's shad that run up the James River.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Right now it's super high. Like in the summertime, this would be, and when it's not been raining upstream, there'll be like rocks out here that
Yeah.
just people
Everybody
get
would be,
on.
yeah, sunbathing on the
It would
rocks.
be a completely, you would see a completely different look behind
Right,
us,
right.
here. This would just be like hundreds of people lying on the rocks, and
Right.
partaking in a few beverages.
Oh, at least.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that's like one of the reasons why like a few people drown out here in the summer.
Oh,
Like
really?
they'll
Too
drink a
much.
few much and wade out into rapid part of the
Oh, that's
river.
crazy. I don't think I've ever
Yeah. Unfortunately,
known that. Yeah.
a
I mean,
few people die here
you
every
see,
year.
well, that, and then there's the Z Dam that's up here that
Yeah.
I don't think people know that you can't just ride over the end of it because it will.
Yeah. No.
It's like a washing machine of just wash you under every time, and then
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
it's terrible. Anyways, off the top.
But that's what's great about the Richmond area. It has
Yeah,
lots of interesting things about it, and
Yeah.
so kind of that leads us back into the Richmond area, which is like, so you I know you said all the things about your company. We're not going to go over that again.
Sure,
But
sure.
what I want to ask is like, not thinking about your company or thinking about your company. It's up to you how you answer this. What is it that like is the passion that drives you each day? And it doesn't have to be video, doesn't have to be photography. It can be something else. Is there something that like that you're passionate about, that like you wake up in the morning, and it could be running or whatever, because you mentioned running. It could be something else, but is there like something that like you feel like is like a passion in your life?
Is this something that like wakes me up and I'm like I want to do every single day? I think it's just experience life. There's a lot of different things that I'm passionate about. I've always been passionate about helping people in some capacity, whether that may be like someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I need help changing my rear brakes. Can you come over and help me do that?" I haven't touched mechanics in a long time, but I know how to do it. So sure, I'll do a little bit of research and help you out. But that's what,
Being a good neighbor
Yeah.
kind of thing.
so yeah, being a good neighbor. It's something that just really that I can say passionate about. Something I really enjoy is helping other people, regardless of what it may be. If you call me and there's something that you need help with, even if I've never done it in my entire life, I will probably say, after a few seconds, sure,
Like,
let's
what
let's
is it?
let's try and I haven't done this. Let's try and figure it out together. I'm not gonna say no. I will say either I can't do it at all, but I will help you find somebody, or I'm gonna make a good attempt at it because for some reason you asked me to do it
Right.
instead of just trying to go and find a different professional or whatever. But it's something I've always done all my life. Is like try to be helpful. And
Do you think that was instilled to you by your parents, or like with a?
I'm sure.
Did you see your dad or mom like
Yeah.
helping people?
Oh, both my parents were like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're
My
kinda
mom
like,
and dad would have both been like the person that, you're working on your garden, they're not doing anything. They're gonna come over and say, "Hey, would you like some help?" Or, "Hey, can I help?" Not even just like, "Would you like some help?" "Can I help you?"
Right.
Which is something I definitely saw both my parents do a lot. Instead of just being like, "Do you want the help?" It's, "Can I help you?" And so I thought that was a very interesting thing. Growing up, especially when I guess I still do it now. Do you see somebody who's maybe a little lost or whatever in the store? Do you need help or whatever? Do you need help? Do I need to find some help? Find someone to help you.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know what that comes from, but it's something I do enjoy a lot. It's just helping people in most capacities. But it's interesting. A lot of people don't ask for help. I don't really ask for help. It's very few and far between. I'll ask for help.
Do you think that's a guy thing?
I don't know.
It's kind of like that joke about guys won't ever ask for directions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask for directions. That's probably a lot I'll ask for. But like physical help, probably not. Yeah, I don't know. Like unless it's like something like hey, we're moving out of our house, and I know I could get the boys together to help me. Sure, I'll ask, but usually I like to take on a lot of projects by myself. It's not often that I want that. I think is what it is. So let me see let me see how this works first, and then if I
That
figure,
kind of reminds me of a saying, like it's kind of like a motto almost like with Guy. I want to be self-reliant.
yeah,
Like, is that like, do you feel like, is that kind of like,
self-reliant is. I mean, sure, maybe in some ways, and I think that was probably a lot of my like younger years. But I think it takes a village for a lot of things. You need help from either family or friends or coworkers or just other professionals. Like especially if it comes to business. Like we haven't done any projects together, but if I needed a photographer, I'd probably be hitting you up immediately. Or any of my other photographer friends. But that's why you keep like, I guess it's the importance of networking and getting to know other people, and you're building your village. Your village might not always be at home or in the village at the time, but the more people you get to know, the more people.
so here's an
you can
interesting
help.
kind of like side to that. Let's say you've been working with somebody and like, you help them, they help you, but they do something to kind of burn you.
Oh yeah, they're getting
Like,
cut off.
Are you quick to forgive or are you quick to cut off? I mean, you just said cut them off, but
Yeah, I say cut them off. I think that's been more
maybe
like
you
my.
just answered the
Yeah.
question.
I think it's been my motto in later years. It's going to take a lot for me to be upset with you. I might put some distance between us for a while, but it just depends. It really depends on how I was crossed, I guess. Um, if you've done something that's pretty major, stole from me, harmed my family, yeah, it's probably the end of our friendship, relationship, whatever you want to call that. Whatever it may have been. If you're a coworker, I mean, if you want to consider this, I've fired a lot of bosses, like people that I once looked up to, and then eventually, did just like all of a sudden did the shadiest of things, and I don't give them any time.
Kind of like you lost respect for them.
Oh, absolutely.
As soon as you
loss
lose
of
respect for them,
Yeah.
it's hard to.
Right. And then so for me, it's just a complete, and it's usually like a very interesting light switch that goes off in me. It's like, I will immediately find a way to get out of where I'm at. Like, I do not want to support you in any way, and I will not give you any more hard work, if possible. So if I have to give you 2 or 3 more days until I can get another job, or I will probably do that. But if I could make it less, I would have. In those particular situations. And
So
it's just
here's a
because-
hard question for you. I said I would ask a couple hard questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Have you ever done that to somebody?
Have I ever crossed somebody?
Like maybe you didn't really realize or didn't do it on purpose, but
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's kind of like,
Yeah.
like after the fact that you.
Oh yeah, for
or-
sure. I mean, that's life though. Like especially as a young, like I could say I did that plenty of times. Maybe not intentionally, but sure, I'm sure that in every case it was something I was selfish about. I was trying to better myself, not thinking about.
How often do you think when that happened, would you go back and try to correct it or ask for forgiveness, or is it just kind of like something that it's better to move on, kind of like?
I mean, I can't really think of anything specific. I just don't want to take it off. Yeah, just
let's
take it
just
off
take
the
an
table.
example, like to like go back to like childhood,
Yeah.
like in your own like dealing with like your parents and stuff, and you've done something. Like, would you like? Were you one of the kids who's like quick to be like, I'm sorry, I did it, like, or are you kind of like kind of like you own up to it, but you're not going to be like asking for forgiveness or like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the situation, and that's why I can't think of a lot of.
I'll
can't
tell
think of
you
anything
one
specific.
example, and
Yeah.
kind of like I shared this in another video, so it might be a repeat for somebody who's watched this before.
Sure.
So when I was in high school, I was like caught up with my friend group, and we rolled TP'd a house, rolled a house with toilet paper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like, so like the next day, the owner of the house came to my mom and like knocked on the door. My mom, was a stay-at-home mom, and she was like, the person's at the door, like all upset. And like, my mom's like, wow, it's like, yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. Like, God. And then like she shuts the door and she just starts laughing.
Yeah.
And she's like, did you do this? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom was just like totally laughing.
Yeah.
Because like, well, like, because it was so like out of my character like to do something like that.
Right.
And she was like, go clean it up.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm like, I'm sorry.
I love that she took like the that approach though, of being like, this really isn't that serious, but yeah, you still have to pay the piper,
But yeah, I felt bad.
Yeah.
Of course. It was like,
I'm sure
I got
that,
caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are situations where I felt terrible for what I did. But yeah, it's just I can't think of anything specific. If I was doing something inappropriate when I was young, I probably didn't get caught doing it. At least not by my family. And then my family never found out. But yeah, I'll probably say that's the type of little kid that I was.
So, in the larger scheme of things, in your business that you have right now, and so, like you said, we're part of this group called the 212 Referral Network. It's a group that's in Richmond. It's all over Virginia now, kind of. And I'm not trying to pitch it, but it's so people understand. In that group, we get to say, like, you get to give your 30 seconds.
Right.
So, like, tell me your best 30 seconds about, like, your business. If you haven't done it already. I think you already kind of did it.
I already kind of did. Yeah.
But so, like, if you had your ideal client, that would be, like, something that would be extra. So tell me, like, what would be your ideal client that would come to you for your business?
Ideal client would be either a real estate agent that it's doing probably 20 homes a year in sales, probably 12 of those as listings, really wants to be more of a spokesperson for their business than a real estate, like being still in the real estate industry. Someone who's looking to just expand their video marketing and really get their name out there, stand out differently than anyone
And what
else.
would you provide for that person?
So we would be providing the strategy, how to get there, how to look at it differently, how to not create video that's boring, that you just see everywhere.
It's interesting. Like when I started my photography business, I was going through some ideas about what to call it and things like this, and then I started getting drone work in it. And I actually have my T-shirts made. See, it says,
"Oh yeah,"
it says "See everything differently."
Yeah.
Because that was kind of like was my kind of idea I had for drones. It's like you can all these different perspectives that you can come into. So
Right.
I printed off like 2 shirts.
Yeah. So I did. That's how I started out, was drone photography for real estate.
So when you have a client let's say you have a broker client that wants to build their brand, and you're providing video that they're going to put, or you're going to help them put on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all those things like that, build a strategy around it.
Right. So we look at, well, what are their goals? What are they making now? Where do they want to? What are their stretch goals? What are they really trying to get to in the next 5 years? What kind of marketing they're already currently doing? How much are they spending? Are they doing organic, or are they doing paid advertisements? The performance of their paid advertisements, things like that. But then we also go into a lot of detail about who they are, what do they stand for, what do they enjoy doing, and how we can integrate both their personal life and their business life into their social media, so that people know a lot more about them than just, what they do for work. People want to know what you're interested in.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
In our last 5
yeah.
minutes, which we have about 5 minutes
Sure.
left, I'm going to kind of trail off what you just said, which is in your life, in your business,
Mhm.
what do you see like as like, do you have a bigger goal? Like, I'm not talking like just like, oh, I want to make, X amount of money.
Right.
Do you want to like to make some kind of an impact for your family, for like a family you're going to have in the future? You're
Right.
kind of planning for that, or are you just kind of like going along and like this river, kind of like it just going to flow, go with the flow right now?
I don't say, I think it's mostly the impact for my family. I want a better life for my children than I had growing up. Not to say that my life is bad at all. In fact, I think it was perfect.
We didn't touch on that. Do you have children
Yeah.
now?
Yes, I have two daughters, 2 and 4 at the moment, and they're just the sweetest, kindest little angels. They're also like creative and fun, and they're probably the thing that I wake up and look forward to most every morning. Having breakfast with them, or yeah, just daddy, being daddy.
Right.
Being a dad is like one of my favorite things in life at the moment. Like I could not be happier with being a dad. Yeah. So, yeah.
That is, yeah. I'm father to 5, and I understand.
Yeah. Wow.
We got
It's crazy.
grow up with 3 of them, and then 2 of them came in when they were adopted and
Yeah.
kind of the middle school age, so we didn't see
Yeah.
them grow up completely. But
That's super cool though. Like,
it is something
Yeah.
to be
I-
able to be blessed to be able to have that honor of being a father.
yeah, it's a gift. It's not one that everyone on this earth gets the opportunity to have. So, yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy about it all the time. I have at least one more kid. So, one more child.
So I know that there's probably 2 more minutes left on the recording.
Okay.
And so to kind of wrap it all up with a bow, when you look at your life and like the way it's and the things you've learned, is there something like you would say like for your kids that you wish that they didn't have to experience? Like if you could take a pain away from them, like is there or yeah, that's the question. Would you take a pain away from them, or do you think that like life is about like getting bruises and pains and
Yeah, I
things
think
like
that's
that?
exactly what my thoughts would be about it. Is that life is, pain is necessary. You're never going to know what a hot stove is like unless you touch it. Or experiencing a sunburn. You don't know to stay away from certain things unless you've, felt the pain. Or just to experience life. There wouldn't be deep love without pain. There wouldn't be. Yeah, I mean, there just wouldn't be a lot of things without, like the necessary pains, like especially the pain that I experienced in my life, emotional pain, physical pain. Those are all the things that, some of the things that have shaped me into who I am today. So.
Right. It's when people are working out, like those little teeny muscle fibers that get torn.
Yeah.
And that's the way that like in the pain of doing all that helps build the muscle to make it stronger, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah.
And the little kid who falls down over and over and over as they're learning to walk, it might hurt for a second, but
Right.
You got to go through those things
Yes.
to be able to grow.
So one of my favorite things to say to my oldest daughter when she hurts herself is, I say, babe, it's just like spicy chips or spice. It's gonna go away. It will go away. The spice always goes away. Your pain will go away. Don't worry. You just bumped your knee or you fell down. You're gonna be all right. And it usually seems to calm her down, which is great. So it's the only thing I can relate it to. But so I like spicy food, and every once in a while she wants to try it, and then she'll try it and be like, "This is too spicy." So it cracks me up. So that's the only thing I have to relate it to, I suppose,
This is
or how I related to her. 4-year-old.
when
right?
you get to be like a parent,
Yeah.
it almost seems obvious, but it really doesn't kind of hit you until you become a parent to understand like this whole concept of that I would do anything for your child, like
Yeah.
step in front of a bus, kind of like
Oh, absolutely.
saying,
Yeah.
like that feeling of wanting to sacrifice
Mm,
like yourself for them
right.
in order for them to live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's yeah. Sometimes I think about, I think about those situations or whatever it may be. Like, you know, they're so young. They have so much life to live. What could happen? Um, will I ever have to defend my family or children and to help them or whatever? But just like I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at here, but um, yeah, it's just interesting to think about. I guess their future and like how they're gonna live and all the dangers they could be. And if I'm not there, what happens?
Yeah.
That's the part of being a parent that I enjoy is preparing them or trying to prepare them for just life period. I try to teach my daughter things all the time about it was not a mosquito, but it was a big bug. um, yeah, just like this is why this happens, or you know these leaves on the tomato plant are yellow because they're not getting enough vitamins,
Right.
things like that. This is why the tomato plant turns red. Like, I think she was 3.5 when she could recite how the food enters your body and goes through the digestive system. And she used to say it all the time. I loved it so much. We've got this video of her um, butt naked, sitting on the potty,
Funny.
making her potty before she goes to bed, just reciting the
Digestive system.
digestive system. And it's just hilarious. But that was something I helped her learn, and she just loves learning. It's cute. Really good at math at age 4 as well. So pretty nuts to me.
The thing that the open booth, this whole concept is so that, like I said, we have open conversations and
Yeah.
just learn more about individuals, learn more about each other,
Well, I appreciate you having me
and
on.
trying to you know to see a little bit about more what life is about.
Yeah.
One of the things that's super important to me is that, like, and I've said it in every video, is I believe that God created everything.
Mm.
And it's this wonderful creation that he's given to us.
Right.
And he's created each one of us uniquely.
Oh yeah.
And so that's a large part of having people in this booth
Yeah.
to hear, the story of what it is that little spark that God gave each person,
Yeah.
including your kids,
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate the time that you spent with me today. And
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's
thank
been
you
great.
very much.
Yeah.
And, well, as we always do, we'll leave the booth open for the next guest. So.
Love it. Awesome.